Shadows, the Horror Movie Heroes by Clouds. Read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 34. Favors. Denki awkwardly looked across at their cellmates. It had been a full 15 minutes since the heroes had thrown them in here, and yet none of the three of them had even said a word to them, just glaring whenever Denki or Kyoka ever made the mistake of looking their way. The biggest one shot a particularly nasty glare at them, and Denki hurried to look away. So, when do you think the shadows are coming to save us? Kyoka gave him a pitying look. What? Denki asked. Izuku always has a plan. Us getting arrested was probably, I don't know, like some master plan to get us into the hero agency or something. Any minute now, he's going to come walking through that door, or Hitoshi's going to brainwash one of the heroes, and they're not coming. Kyoka cut him off. Don't take it personal, but they're in this game to win, no matter who they have to stab in the back to do that. You do realize that they set us up, right? The heroes knew exactly where we were. Oh, come on. Now is Denki's turn to roll his eyes. They're good guys and our friends. They wouldn't do something like that. Kyoka shrugged. Your funeral. The heroes hadn't left anyone in here to guard them, apparently confident in their prison's ability to keep them in. But Denki noticed the cameras in every corner, so they still weren't alone. At least not really. The heroes were watching their every move. Suddenly, Kyoka tensed. Someone's coming. Sure enough, a few seconds later, Denki started to hear footsteps echoing down the hall. Denki turned toward the sound, and his face split into a grin when he saw Izuku walking toward their cell. Hey, man, it's so good to see you. What took you so long? Oh, it took me a bit to hack into the security system and turn off the cameras so the heroes wouldn't know I'm down here. Izuku smiled, but something seemed off somehow. He wasn't giving Denki his friendly smile. He was giving him the calculated one he normally reserved for villains. Denki shook it off. Kyoka's suspicions must just be getting to him. Izuku wouldn't treat him like that. They were friends. He ran up to the bars as Izuku got closer. So what's the plan? Are you going to pick the lock? Hack into the security system? How are you going to get us out? Izuku didn't even acknowledge his question. Instead, he turned to talk to their cellmates. I believe the three of you still owe a favor to Shadows. When the three villains reluctantly nodded, Izuku's smile got a little sharper. He reached into his pocket, pulled out one of the game knives, the ones with paint along the edges to simulate blood, and tossed it to one of the villains. She caught it in one fluid motion, and Denki felt a chill run down his spine when Izuku jerked his head toward him and Kyoka. Kill them. Denki's jaw dropped as Izuku turned on his heel and walked away. He didn't even have the decency to look back at the friends that he had just condemned to death. Kyoka had already fallen into a combat stance. Honestly, she had probably been tensing for a fight from the moment she heard Izuku coming. She'd told him that, but Denki had been too trusting, too stupid to do the same. The villains didn't waste any time. The one with the knife lunged for him, and Denki scrambled as he tried to adjust to a fight that he hadn't been expecting. He stumbled backwards, tripping over his feet, and fell to the floor, which meant he avoided getting stabbed, but more through luck than skill. The next attack was almost immediate, and Denki barely managed to roll out of the way in time. His heartbeat was through the roof. He wasn't ready for this. He hadn't been prepared for Izuku and Hitoshi to betray them. He couldn't do this. There was a sharp poke in his side, and then suddenly his heart was beating a bit slower and the blind panic retreating a little bit, just enough for him to be able to coat his body in electricity and get their enemies off their backs for the moment. It took him about 2 seconds to figure out why he was suddenly so calm and look over at Kyoka. Her expression was disinterested as she twirled her earphone jack around her finger, but Denki could see the concern she was trying to keep buried. It was sweet. She raised an eyebrow questioningly. You good? Denki chuckled nervously. No? Yeah, okay, that's fair. Kyoka dodged a tackle from one of the villains, but you do realize this is just a game, right? It's not like they hate us or anything. They just want to win. Denki paused. One of the guys trying to kill them groaned, "Look, are you guys just going to keep blabbering or are you going to fight?" Denki grinned and the room grew bright with static electricity. "Oh, we're going to fight. Our friends might want us dead, but that doesn't mean we can't take you with us." Kyoka smirked. "That's more like it." Izuku did not let himself feel conflicted as he walked away from the holding cell, the sounds of a fight echoing behind him until he went up the stairs and closed the doors behind himself. Denki and Kyoka had strong quirks. Even if they lost here and didn't get a single objective, Izuku knew that they would still get into UA without having to fight against centuries worth of prejudice to even get considered. He and Hitoshi didn't have that privilege. They had exactly one chance to prove that they were skilled and dangerous enough to be heroes, and he wasn't planning on wasting a single second of it. The heroes hadn't even noticed that Izuku wasn't where he was supposed to be. Even hero students who were trained to be on constant alert to threats were so used to thinking that the quirkless were weak that it was almost as good as having an invisibility quirk. He silently slipped back into the common room. A few of the heroes were out on patrol, but now that most of the villains had been captured, there wasn't the same rush to go out and fight as there had been. Sometime while he'd been gone, someone must have gone out for the mail because there was a fancy envelope in Nejire's hands. "Hey, we just got invited to attend this charity dinner tonight." Amajiki was pacing around anxiously. "Shouldn't we all be out looking for the last of the villains?" "What are they going to accomplish?" Nejire shrugged. "We're holding pretty much all of the objectives, which means they'll have to come here if they want to get any of them. At this point, we're mostly just waiting for them to come to us." Izuku smiled slightly. This was working out perfectly. "I think that going to the charity dinner would be a great way to celebrate you guys winning the exercise. Seeing their heroes support good causes is a great way to boost civilian morale and increase public confidence." "All those people," Amajiki shuddered. "Please, no." "Well, we don't all have to go," Mirio laughed. "At least some of us need to stay behind and keep the agency running, not to mention normal patrols, but I think it would be fun." Izuku grinned widely. "I'm sure you'll have a blast." End of chapter. Dun dun dun.